Hello and welcome to the video version of my journal. I'm Stephanie Rivers. Come on into the conversation. I am multicasting on several platforms, so you might be watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or a host of other platforms that I'm multicasting on. If you're one of my subscribers, we want to thank you for joining us. If you are new to the conversation, we want you to like, share, and subscribe so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first to know. So when I watched Fulton County DA Steffanie Willis's testimony during her hearing on misconduct allegations, the lesson that she said her father taught her was all too familiar to me because I grew up as the only child of a single mother. And so my mother imparted a lot of lessons to me, including the one that Willis said her father taught her, and that is to always have enough money to pay your own way, just in case things don't go as planned. So whether I'm on the other side of town or the other side of the world, if I don't have the money to pay my own way home, then I should stay home. But I like to travel, which is why I end up traveling alone sometimes, because sometimes I just want to be able to do for myself, even if it means I have to go by myself, and actually all the time. So I wanted to, in fact, I did a video already of how I feel about Willis's issue of having an intimate relationship with a lead prosecutor in the Trump and Associates RICO case. So I'll put the link in the chat. That's not what we're talking about today. Some people thought her testimony was a little defiant, though, in the current hearing. And I am not one of those people. To me, her response was an emotional response for someone who is used to being vilified or someone who is used to being challenged. And if you are a Black woman in America, then you have had that feeling and probably have it every day that you are in the public eye. And so that's what I saw when I looked at Steffanie Willis's testimony in that hearing. It's called being a Black woman in America. And so if you haven't been a Black woman in America, you might not understand that. And also the response that some people are giving to Kelly Rowland. She's an actress, she's a singer, she's a former member of Destiny's Child. She made the decision to walk away from a nationally known talk show, a news show. She was going to be the guest anchor on one of the hours of the show to promote some of her upcoming projects. And if you haven't heard, she walked away from the set because we were told, according to the news, that essentially the dressing room area wasn't up to par for her and her team. So she decided to walk away. So some of you, and if you've had an experience that you want to share, you can certainly talk to me in the chat. If you want to come up and tell us what your experience is, you can do that as well, because I want to talk to you about that today. Was it the right thing to do for Kelly Rowland to walk away from the Today Show because essentially she was there to promote herself and her projects? Or was she feeling all the recent news with Steffanie Willis, with Taraji P. Henson not getting paid enough, with all the things with Beyonce and her going into a new genre of music and not getting the respect in that way, with her transition, or not just a transition, but just in spreading her territory? Was she feeling like, you know what, I'm going to stand up for other people as well as myself, Kelly Rowland saying that, and I'm going to walk away from this opportunity because there's so many viewpoints. So last week, I introduced you to my homegirl and the Knoxville icon. Call her K-Town icon. And she's here with me today because I'll tell you later at the end because I don't want to get emotional on that end. But she's here. We happen to be in the same place. I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee, where we grew up, and she's going to talk to me about that today. I was going to talk to you about it on my own, but essentially, I'm going to bring in Kukhautusha Croom.
Hey, what's happening, everybody?
She's we're in the same place at the same time today, and I thought this was the best time for us to talk about this because again, her experience in Hollywood is that she's worked with a lot of industry executives as well as actors, producers, and comedians and entertainment people, and she knows what it's like to be in the situation that Kelly Rowland found herself in. Now, I initially was so thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
So, when you and I were first going to talk about this, I had planned to talk about it on my own, and I was essentially going to just to say that in Kelly Rowland's in that viewpoint, maybe she felt like this opportunity that she needed to stand up for herself and to say just as a way to say, you know what, I'm not going to accept what you're giving me, and if you're not happy with it, then walk away from it.
Yeah.
And so you had another perspective that I thought other people might be able to appreciate because you started talking about how the comedians that worked on
Comic View,
on Comic View and what they had to go through. So let's start right there. What is your experience with how people get paid in the industry? Do people pay for your travel? Do they don't? Do they feed you? Do they not? Like, what is it that people should expect when they get to a set or when they get to a Today Show?
Now, okay, on a Today Show at the level that Kelly Rowland is on, you would expect a red carpet treatment. You would expect, a very nice dressing room. You would expect, to have her favorite foods. They have, as part of her contract, they have what's called a rider. The rider tells you, like, what's her favorite foods. What does she want in her dressing room? Does she like, brown M&Ms? Does she want grapes? Does she want, reverse osmosis water? Or does she, want sparkling, all sparkling water, all the different things that she may like and want. And, she's worked hard. She's been in the game now well over 20 years at the top of that game. And you have an expectation of being treated a certain kind of way. And when you're first starting out, she mentioned that I had worked with, on Comic View as a producer. Well, those comedians were just starting out. And a lot of the times they did not receive the kind of money that they had, that they probably felt that they were deserved. But unfortunately, a lot of them were just starting out. But the problem was, at the time, BET was paying them a lot lower than like Def Comedy Jam was paying. And that discrepancy caused a lot of animosity, towards, BET, because they were like, wait a minute, why are you paying me $150 and Def Comedy Jam is paying $750? That's a big discrepancy. And the people that were on there were also starting out, a lot of them. Some of them had a reputation, up and coming reputation, but most of those comedians were also just starting out. So, but Kelly Rowland in this instance, she probably walked in there, and if she walked into, a raggedy, dressing room, which I think Steffanie had said that she had read that building where they tape at, that show, the Today Show, that the building is notorious for having, it's an older building. So they're notorious for having smaller dressing rooms that have not been updated in a while. I understand that. That's all, that's cool. But if you come in there and you are an A-lister and you walk into a room that is a cracker box, and then you hear about another guest that's on the show and their room is a suite, not going to make you feel good. It's going to make you feel slighted, and it's going to make you feel disrespected. It's like, wait a minute, I, I have an expectation. I've worked hard. I put sweat equity into the game for over 20 years. And it's just, you have an expectation. And guess what? She deserves it. She deserves a nice dressing room.
So now I know that when you're talking about, sometimes in the business, well, I have had experience as a TV reporter and a newspaper reporter, and so that is the extent of what I have done in the business. But there's this certain thing where you feel like, okay, I've got to take this step because I know it's going to lead to something better,
Right.
and then I take that step and I know it's going to lead to something better. So at what point do we as women, or as people trying to get to the next level, sometimes we have to say, because you were mentioning how you just said that some of the policy on Comic View was that they get paid a certain amount,
Right.
which was kind of probably not what they wanted.
No,
less than what they wanted.
It was lower than some of the other, shows were paying. And so when you feel like, wait a minute, why can't I make as much as the other people that are starting out make on that other show? But like you said, because BET was at the time, still is a huge platform. And you go on there, and what happens is, once you are seen on that platform, then the comedy clubs will book you because they'll say, hey, you really killed. You were great. You were hilarious. And then you start having more fans. They watched you on Comic View, and then the fans in Alabama or North Carolina or Georgia or wherever they whatever comedy house booked you, they'll say, hey, I saw you on BET. So even though you got paid $150, it led to you making maybe $3,000.
Correct. Which you would not have been able to build that reel, that reel,
Yeah.
if you didn't go on or
Right.
agree to take less.
So in some ways, the end justified the means. It still, it doesn't make it right per se, but at least there was a payoff in the end. You know what I mean? If you felt like, okay, I made $150, I didn't get an airline ticket, I didn't get, a hotel room, but I got booked. I started getting booked at these comedy clubs, which maybe in a month's time, I made $3,000 or $4,000. I made enough to pay my car note. They made enough to pay their rent or whatever other necessities that they had for that month. And so, it can be really hard. In Kelly Rowland's case, though, I think it's like completely different because she is an A-lister. She's proven talent.
And has been for
right. She's won Grammys
years.
for 20 years. She's won Grammys. She's been on, in a top-rated, one of the top-rated girl groups ever in history. They made history. They broke all kind of records. She's also hosted on, national network shows that have been highly rated. I can see her being disrespected. I can see her feeling disrespected.
So you think that has something to do with it? She's like, look,
Yeah.
I've done all this,
right?
And now you want to give me, a little bit.
Now you want to give me, right? You want to give me a cracker box.
My team,
right?
We got to share a cracker box,
right? And it's kind of like, I can see her being disrespected, and it's something that her management team probably went in there and was like, oh snap, I didn't know that it was this small. You know what I mean? And maybe it wasn't expressed to them in advance how small the room was, or that the accommodations weren't going to be, what they were. And so that's also an issue. And so, in that regard, but then again, I think, well, she has a new project coming out. Was it a misstep because she missed out on an opportunity? Because the Today Show is obviously a top-rated daytime show. It's something that people pray to get on. Everybody wants to be on a show like that. If you are a successful actor, athlete, comedian, whoever, you want to be on the Today Show to talk about, what you're doing and how it's affecting your life. Because guess what else it's going to do? It's going to make you even more famous, and it's going to make people want to hire you for other things. Possibly they might see you, they say, wow, she would be good to host another show. So you don't know what it's going to lead to. So her walking away from that, I do wonder, it's like, wait a minute, well, was it a misstep or was it justified? It's because on one side of me, I'm like, I understand her feeling that way. But on another side of me, I'm like, but girl, you got this project coming out. You want everybody to watch it. You need those other, you need to get that information out there so those eyes can turn on that day to watch your movie. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And,
So,
and that's another thing. You just don't know who would have been watching, who
right,
might have offered you another gig because of
right,
that.
right.
So I guess that's what everybody goes through when you have to make a
Yeah.
decision on, should I stay in my position and say, look, I'm not putting up with this, or if I should say,
Hmm.
okay, I'll put up with it because of what the possibilities are.
Well, yeah, I agree. It's interesting because when you think of Kelly, of course, when I think of Kelly Rowland, I can't help but I also think of Beyonce because they are like sisters
Hmm.
and they worked together for so long. The way Beyonce has been disrespected by the Grammys, it's like, but yet and still, she hasn't walked away from participating in the Grammys because it is like a legitimate, viable part of music, of the music industry. Until
Hmm.
it's not. I wish they could do something to lessen its importance because I do think that the way they vote is archaic, antiquated, and unfair. Because a lot of the times, it's just like Jay Z said, how is someone who has won more Grammys than anyone in the industry not ever won album of the year? It makes no sense, especially when those albums were charted or at the top of the charts, breaking all kinds of molds, breaking all kinds of records, and then you don't win. And who are voting? It's like the voting for the Grammys is like it's private, so you don't even know who's voting. It's a weird, to me, a weird process. It seems very uneven. It seems very, to me, racist. And it's just, but yet and still she shows up for the Grammys and she puts in her sweat equity every time. I remember hearing one time on a show, Queen Latifah had said that she said that Beyonce was one of the hardest working, artists that she had ever encountered. Just the amount of time, the way, the exercising and just everything she puts into it. And you can feel that when you hear her music. You can tell her whole heart has gone into it. And I couldn't imagine being an artist, on that level, doing that kind of work, always, putting in everything. Then people responding so positively, and then you not win that top prize
Hmm.
that she deserves.
Right, right,
Is
right.
that fair? Should she walk away from the Grammy? Should she, just kiss them goodbye? I don't know. I don't know because I just think it's very unfair and it's hurtful. You know what I mean? You can't go back and it's like you make an album like a Lemonade or some of these other. I mean, you can't go back and do that, and you don't know how the next one is going to be received. And so it must be, for an artist, it must be extremely frustrating to put that kind of blood, sweat, and tears into something, and it not be it not move in the way that other people are saying that it should have moved at the Grammys. Everybody else is telling you it's number one, it's perfect, it's great, and then the Grammys is like, not so much.
And you know what? That reminds me, or that leads me to this question. You and I, we were talking about we are planning to kick off a production company, a joint production company, and we have. In fact, anyone can attest to this. You look at stuff on TV and you're like, I could do something better than that, or I have ideas that would make a good show, but you gotta somebody. I think they called it. It's called show business. A
Right,
lot of
right, right.
us are too much into the show part and
That's
not
true.
enough in the business part.
That's very
And
true.
so, if you are in the business part, you know that there's the production part, there's
Hmm. Hmm.
sponsorship, advertisers, there's and there that leads me to, there are platforms
Yeah.
now where you might not, you might say, oh, I want my stuff to be on a mainstream streaming service, but there are others that are not necessarily mainstream, but you would get
Hmm.
more money and have more control over your
Like YouTube.
your product.
Right. Like
So
YouTube. Mm-hmm.
what do you think about mainstream show business versus getting started on platforms that are not necessarily called mainstream?
Right. I think that I think I love TV. I love television production. I love, entertainment in general. I collected TV guides from when I was 9 years old till I was in my 20s. I know it's embarrassing. I did so. And I mean, because I just love television. And I think that it's wonderful now that young people like Issa Rae, when she first started out, she had a YouTube show, remember?
Mhm.
And that YouTube show led to her becoming now an A-lister who just was in Barbie. You know what I mean? To go from
Right.
YouTube to Barbie, and to also having your own series, that ran for 5 seasons on HBO, on a national, known network. That is amazing. But it all started on YouTube. So I think that it's a great opportunity for people who want to start out just to see. And YouTube is extremely lucrative. I think it was Country Wayne talking about how many millions of dollars he makes, doing his skits for TikTok
With his family, because I started
And-
watching
and
his
YouTube, right.
his videos that he does.
and a lot of the times he doesn't even write a script. He said sometimes
Right.
it's just
It's like just
They
him
just-
talking
yeah.
about his son and
Mhm.
his son's girlfriend and
just off the
all
cuff
of that. Yeah.
stuff. You know what I mean? And he's making millions of dollars. So it can be very lucrative. I think that, but I do think that when people go into anybody that goes into anything, you have to have a realistic perspective. You have to think, okay, when I start out, I'm not going to start out with 1 million views. Maybe I'll get 20. Maybe I'll get 30. But the thing with, like Country Wayne said, it's consistency. He was filming, he said 30 skits a week. 30 to 50, and then it started escalating more and more, because the more, he was doing it, people were like, oh wow, this is great. You have to keep it fresh, because people will stop watching if they keep seeing the same thing over and over. Imagine having to film 30 skits a week.
Right.
That's 30 times 4, that's 120 skits a month. That is not a small feat.
Right.
People think, oh, it's no big deal.
He's
No,
putting
it
them on
is.
every,
And I'm
multiple
gonna tell
times
you,
a day
right.
and all of that.
And also what people don't understand, he's not just filming it, he is editing it. He may add music to it. It's a process. It takes a long time to do these things. So he put in the work, and he ended up getting paid for it. It became lucrative for him. So he's a millionaire. He got 100 kids. I don't know how many kids he got, like 20 something. I mean, some crazy amount. He got a ton of kids.
Oh yeah.
And he pays child support to the child support. He pays him a ton of child support because of YouTube. Yeah, he loves his kids. He's always talking about them. I don't really know him or anything. I just know what I've seen. But he is somebody that has used YouTube to his advantage.
And so, just off that made me think of, so far they said Shannon Sharp has gotten paid $600,000 off of the Cat Williams conversation.
Yeah,
on
I'm not
Club Shay Shay.
surprised. Right, because he's gotten. And the smart thing that he did too was he took that one interview
And chopped it
and
up.
chopped it up.
Yeah.
And
different
also
segments.
in
Yeah.
different segments. And then what else happened? Other YouTubers took the topics and
And
used those clips.
Okay. So
To-
he
to
should
create
get paid
their
for that
shows.
too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And so then you got all of these other, and other YouTubers can eat too. Now they're making money off of it. So it just became this really, and they would use like these really, clickbait titles like, we found even more information about, Cat Williams, or watch this video, newly found video of Cat Williams going off on whatever. And so everybody ate off of that, so it made it really like this very lucrative entity. But you can do that. If something trends like that and goes viral like that interview did, you're going to make a lot of money. You're going to make a lot. You would be shocked at some of these young kids on YouTube that are millionaires. Millionaires. People have no idea they are millionaires.
Meanwhile, we getting up, going to work, not getting paid enough.
Okay, so yeah.
yeah.
But it takes a special time. Like me personally, I don't want to sit up and do flips and all of the things that people do. And it's because if you don't mind the camera being intrusive in your life 24/7, because that's what some people do. But then they end up being millionaires. So it's like a give and take. What are you willing to do to get that money? I personally don't want a camera on all the time in my life. I wouldn't like that. I know I wouldn't. But
yeah, I don't think I would either. But I've considered it. I'm like, okay, because my W-2 job it can be exciting, and I could go live on layovers and go live, walking down the terminal in the terminal.
You should do it.
And
why not? It might make some money.
And I'm sure it would, but then it's like being consistent with it, not just doing that part. Because I can do it, and I've done it. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you know this. I was on Cheapskate.
No, I didn't know that.
I forgot. Extreme Cheapskates.
That's the name cute. I remember that show.
And I was like the cheap flight attendant on the show. And it was great. And I think they said it had one of the highest rated. It was one of the highest rated shows of the series. We did it in 2016, 2017. Cool. And I still have people emailing me saying, was that you? And because I've lost weight in my face and I shaved my head, so I'm done to like a totally different look than what I did.
Oh, gotcha.
And so people still reach out to me about that, and I'm like, it would be great. And yeah, I still am. In fact, I started calling myself the cheap diva. And Laverne Adekunle, she's a business partner of mine in Nashville. We were going to start this thing, the Cheap Diva series.
I like it.
But girl, like you said, consistency is the key.
It is. It's just the key. I mean, it's like, and if you don't do it enough to satisfy your audience, it's not going to work because they're going to leave. Now,
their attention span is just
like, okay, yeah. This is a TikTok generation. They want it fast. They want it consistent. And, because they're watching that. Like we were just talking about, when you go down that rabbit hole, you know how you go down the rabbit hole? You're looking on Facebook or somewhere and you end up on, and there ain't even nobody's page you know. You see a video, you're like, what's that about? And then you end up watching like 6 videos on this stranger's page.
And 20 minutes later.
You're like, I done missed my phone call. I don't know what, I'm late for work or whatever. You're like, oh, Lord. But, yeah.
So essentially, I just every time I talk with you, Kukhautusha, I learn something new, and it's kind of like the rabbit hole. Just talking to you and the ideas and the stories and the life that you've led is so amazing. So I feel privileged to know you.
Thank you so much. I feel the same way about you.
So we are teaming up, and I just wanted to say thank you to that, and to look for our production company, and we are looking for talent, and we're going to build our marketing platform, and we'll certainly get you more information on that. So thanks again for sharing your time.
Thanks for having me, and thanks everybody. Have a great day.
So I just wanted to reach out and let you know that I'm in Knoxville because my mother suffered a medical challenge, and I ended up, as a matter of fact, immediately after Kukhautusha and I did our show together, the podcast together last Sunday, this same time probably, I got a call that my mother had suffered a medical challenge, and I flew to Knoxville, and I've been here for the past week. And so I am asking for your prayers and well wishes for my mother, Gwen Rivers, and just wanted to share that and share this picture of us in better times. And I hope and pray and that she will be back to herself and we can do some more traveling. This is us when we were in New Orleans at one of the many annual jazz fests that we attended. And so that is us in better times, but we know better times can always be ahead. So I want to thank you again for your support of my channel and your prayers with my mom, and just that I want to end on that note that parents and grandparents and just people in our lives, they teach us lessons, and they impart wisdom, and we need to respect that and cherish those times. That was one of the things I always try to do, is travel with my mom so that we can build those memories. And so I know and pray that we will be able to create some more memories in the near future. So that's all I have for you today. To find out more about the things that I care about, you can go to the written version of my journal. That's at eurweb.com. Thank you so much, and have a